Hi, how are you? You have an ID? Adelson? Yes. Nice to meet you. Yeah. You're under arrest for cell phone. No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. Evidence. Do me a favor. She's under arrest. I have to go with it. I have to go. I have to go.
Let me help you out, sir.
No, I have to stay. Please don't do this. Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah. And you need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't
Yeah,
come
I
with
can't.
me.
Please, can I go? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's
God.
got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is insane.
Is that okay with you?
Please. You need to have the handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please. Please. Do you have anything in your pocket?
No.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Does she have a necklace on? You
Wanna
can
go?
take the necklace off.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah.
And the earrings.
And the earrings, the
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay. How is everybody? Got a very short show for you today, but a good one. Going to talk to you today about Donna Adelson's secret in-camera hearing that happened yesterday, that we didn't see. And that was to keep Robert Adelson, her son, who is a doctor in upstate New York. If you know a little bit about his background, according to him in the Over My Dead Body podcast, he was really an outcast among this criminally minded family. When he got changed, that was too much and he gave it back. He was teased endlessly by his mother and his father. Why would you, and his brother and his sister, why would you give the money back? What's wrong with you? They gave him the moniker Honest Abe as if that was a bad thing. And one of the issues with his family was he was in love with a non-Jewish woman, and they insisted, or Donna insisted, that he marry a Jewish woman, and he did. And that marriage lasted, I believe, 2 weeks before he got it annulled, and then got back with the non-Jewish woman who he's married to this day. I believe she's of Indian descent. And the family was okay with it, but really where the break with this family was when Dan Markel was murdered. No one in the family was at all interested in who murdered Dan Markel besides Robert Adelson. And he's going around saying, don't you want to know? Aren't you curious? And he's on the witness list. Now, he's been on the witness list every trial. So this was a trial to bar him from speaking. Now, many people, or one person, Deep Dive True Crime, who had the scoop on this, I put his video in the link to the description of this episode. This is all this is all his scoop. Now, all of this was done in camera. So an in-camera meeting is a unrecorded secret meeting with the judge, defense attorney, and the prosecution. I mean, it's just a secret meeting, unrecorded meeting. It was in the judge's chambers, I assume. And it was about barring Robert Adelson from talking. Now, what Deep Dive True Crime says is he thinks that he doesn't have anything of real relevance to say, and the defense is barring him, that his testimony is irrelevant. And I feel very differently about this particular trial, because I would think that he would be more estranged from his brother than his mother. I think his curiosity with his family, I think that would be stronger testimony. Now, if you remember how this case is being done, I always use the metaphor of a house. So we built the foundation with the lowest hanging fruit on the bottom, right? So with Sigfredo and Luis on the bottom, then Katie, a little bit harder case, Charlie, then Donna, and perhaps it will end at Donna, or perhaps it will end at Wendy. I don't believe Harvey will ever be arrested or tried for this. It's not because I don't believe he was involved. I just don't think there is either the public will or both public will and sufficient evidence. And I think Wendy is going to be a difficult case because she is a lawyer who has been trained to protect herself. So we're at Donna's trial. It's a little bit more difficult. And I do think that Robert Adelson's testimony would be really key in what he knows, what was going on, what was the vibe before and after Dan Markel's murder. Now, last time, so I'll talk a little bit more about this. I'm going to break for comments. When we get back, I'm going to talk maybe a little bit more about why I think this is such important testimony. Talk a little bit about Sarah Youssef, Wendy's ex-friend, who went to the Markel family lawyer and then to the prosecution, has snitched on Wendy. She felt she had valuable information. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Sarah Youssef, all when we return from. First, we're going to look at your comments.
We got your comments. We got your comments. You had something to say. You were insightful. Oh, so clever. So Roberta's going to read your comments. Hey, Roberta, read those comments.
Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on one sec. Roberta, I was watching, this is from July Sweet Breeze. Roberta, I was watching this motion in court TV, and Honorable Judge Everett asked Donna if she wants to take a plea this time. Honorable Judge knows something we don't know. Funny you should mention that, Julie Sweet. We'll go over it. When I will go over that moment. I think I don't think it's significant. I think it's a formality, but it certainly was interesting moment we missed from yesterday's hearing. Let's take a look at it right now. While we're doing it, right? While we're on the subject of it. So weird they're calling this the Adelson Matriarch murder trial. Other people said they should call it the Gotti. To comment, Grandma Gotti trial. I don't know. Really, matriarch. Maybe it's nicely alliterated. So here's the moment where Judge Everett asked Donna if her time is running out to take a plea deal or to offer a plea to the state. I mean,
typically the hearing in which I inquire of both parties if they are in fact ready to go to trial, if any continuances are necessary, and also information concerning plea offers. As I stated to you at a previous hearing, I do not prod people to take pleas. However, if you wish to consider a plea offer from the state, the time is rapidly coming for you to make that decision as to whether you desire to entertain any plea offer or not. If you want your counsel to provide an offer to the state, also the time is coming very close to a conclusion for them to do that as well. I'm not going to prod you either way, but I want you to be mindful of the fact, once we begin jury selection and the denial is sworn, that means trial has started. From there, basically, because of count one, if you are convicted as charged, my hands will be tied concerning any sentencing on that matter. Your attorneys will have further discussion with you concerning this, but if you are considering anything at all, you need to make a decision on this quickly. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, I do.
Very well. We are in recess. I will see everyone next week at 9 o'clock.
okay. So I don't think that the state is offering Donna any plea deals here. I think that ship has long sailed. I don't think Donna wants to take any plea deals. Why is Judge Everett offering a plea deal? Well, I think he made it pretty clear, if your ears were open, in Florida, if she is convicted, he doesn't have any wiggle room, leeway. It is life, mandatory life without parole in Florida. Most excellent, I think, for murder. Wish more states were like this. So he can't say, Donna, you were a great grandmother. You were, I don't know what else. I don't know what else that the defense would be offering as mitigating factors for lower sentencing here. She's a first-time offender. All those things aren't going to matter. She's going to prison for life. And other people have remarked that she looks like she's resigned to the fact that she's going to get convicted. I don't see it that way. I see her defiant and deluded to the last minute. I think what we're seeing is the effects of being in jail. I think that she's convinced that she's going to get out of it. She's lived a good life. She did it her way. She'll never admit any guilt. I mean, if you were taking a plea, you'd have to admit guilt. And this is a woman who's never going to admit guilt. That's the way I see it. Let me know how you see it. You know, there's been all sorts of reads on Donna. I know that Carl Steinbeck was saying she's so weak. She'll never make it to trial when she got arrested. She's so thin. And I said, oh no, she's making it to trial. She's a cockroach. She's very strong. She will make it to trial. And I think I've been proved correct. Other things, she'll go crazy in jail. I said, oh no, she's very strong. I don't know. I feel that she'll never admit guilt. No one in this family will admit guilt. I do not believe that Charlie is coming down to testify against her. I could be wrong, but I think he's the state's witness to give the same ridiculous story that he gave in his first trial. Because it was so ridiculous. Long comment here from Nabom 615. So this is about Sarah Youssef. I had a coworker friend tell me how her boyfriend was involved in a hit and run. It had been several years since the accident. She told me the area in which it happened, and I remembered the accident from the newspaper and flyers within the area at the time of the accident. She was saying this guy she had a child with was suicidal and couldn't leave him. She just kind of blurted it out. I couldn't sleep for a month and kind of tried to ghost her, but it freaked me out. I went to the archives of the local paper and really read the article related to the crime. He was a young man, 20s, with a child, and was walking home at 1 a.m. after his second job at a local processing plant. It made me feel horrible knowing about this crime and felt so bad for his family. I called the number in the article for the investigator and reported what I knew. I was requested to come in and talk to the detectives at the local state police outpost. The car that was involved had been destroyed. The detectives tried to question her and went to her job poking around. I don't think they had enough evidence to do anything, but the fact I knew wore on my soul. When they asked why I called, I said, I have something I have to tell someone so I don't feel like I'm carrying this around myself. I imagine maybe Wendy's friend felt the same. I was fearful the girl in my situation would realize it was me that went to the police. They could ask if I could get more information. I am a single woman by myself. I was too scared for my own safety. I don't think that ever happened. I don't think anything ever happened to her or boyfriend. Oh. I did get an accident text from her, and the detective called me the next day, asked if I had heard from her. Interesting. Maybe they were keeping tabs. Yeah, that's a very interesting thing about Sarah Youssef. What confuses me about Sarah Youssef, and I think you make a really good point here, which is it's different when it happens to you. And I noticed a lot of narcissism in Sarah Youssef's text messages, her anxiety and her journey to self-discovery, and those things being made as an excuse for why she couldn't talk to Wendy anymore. Her anxiety was just too high, and she had to thank you for helping me in my journey towards self-love, or I don't know, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But what confuses me is that if you're working for someone like Chesa Boudin, that DA in San Francisco, who was so pro-criminal and let so many of these same kind of crimes slide and go unprosecuted and let out these kind of people who did this crime, so much so that the people of San Francisco were absolutely up in arms and recalled him, meaning voted him out within 2 years. I guess it's because it's personal to you. I just don't understand how she can't make that leap, right? We all make that leap when it's empathy. It seems to be right? When we hear a victim impact statement, we have empathy and we understand the impact these kind of crimes have on families and human beings. I just don't understand how she didn't see the impact of her own work, but maybe she did. I don't know. If Sarah Youssef, if she wants to, very curious, if she ever wants to come on and talk after the trial or whatever, very curious to hear her story, because these victim impact statements are very powerful. Victims' voices are extremely powerful, which is why I read a victim impact I've had and have crime victims families on this channel because I think they are the forgotten part of true crime storytelling, and they are the most important part. And they're very, very powerful, which is why George Gascon, when he took power, one of the first things he did, this is the LA district attorney, was he got rid of the department that notified victims' families when their loved one's killer was coming up for parole. So they would be out of the parole hearings. So their voice would be forever silenced. It's so sinister and immoral, in my opinion. So, yeah, very curious to hear what Sarah Yusuf has to say about what she knows. It's obviously something having to do with Wendy. She was friends with Wendy since law school. But it's at Donna's trial. So anything that's related to Donna is related to Wendy. And I think what Patty from Patty's Playhouse has been pointing out, very insightful take, is that Charlie's trial was really focused on Donna. Donna's trial seems to be pushing the spotlight on Wendy. So she may be arrested next. Certainly the public will is behind Georgia Kappelman and Sarah Dugan, the power prosecutors prosecuting this case. And that means a lot in these cases. And I hear when people say it's weak circumstantial evidence against Wendy, I think people forget that all testimony is evidence. I don't know how much Jeffrey Lacasse is going to be, how much of his testimony can be brought in, but there's got to be more people who saw things. And testimony is evidence. It's not all DNA, physical evidence. Behavior, odd behavior, like driving by the crime scene, that is evidence. The TV story is evidence. All of it is evidence. Let us not forget. I think we like to think of evidence as something physical we can touch and feel, or scientific like DNA evidence. But DNA evidence is circumstantial evidence. P.S. So what do I think about Robert? I think that his view of what he saw and how this family changed before and after this murder is key in this case. Now, is it going to turn off the jury to have this Donna's son testify against her? Well, she already has one son testifying, Charlie. Hi, Ann Trower. Thanks so much for the super sticker. So they already have Charlie testifying. So it's already a pattern that's been set. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think that he saw a lot, even not living in the same state. I think he heard a lot, saw a lot, seemed very keyed in that something was very wrong. And even if he tells that story of behavioral changes and, Wendy packing up and leaving, immediately changing the kids' names, all those things are evidence. Now, what can be brought in because of the Castigar issues, meaning she's protected, she testified with limited immunity, anyone's guess. So that is what I have for today. Just going to read a victim impact statement like I always do. The trial starts, good question, Jill. The trial starts the week of September. It starts on the 17th with jury, but they made a deal that testimony won't start till that the 20th, I believe, at last hearing. But jury selection starts the 17th. I think that Josh Dugan, the Innocence Project ambassador, who just brought on a guy on Joe Rogan as a miracle of rehabilitation, who got off Joe Rogan 2 weeks after being on Joe Rogan, as an example of the miracle of rehabilitation in prisons and bringing up the problem of over sentencing, as they left out a ton of the story, killed brutally 2 weeks after being on Joe Rogan as Josh Dugan. So that was Charlie Adelson's jury consultant, who was on Joe Rogan with this ex-convict who he came on to tout this ex-convict as a miracle of rehabilitation. I think he will be back. He was brought up in the jailhouse calls as like the cream of the crop, you know? And I think a lot of Charlie Adelson's language came from what Josh Dugan told him, you know, his rap, that it was so unfair that he would never, you know, that sometimes you're just my clients will never get a fair trial, et cetera, et cetera. I think that all came from Josh Dugan. So this was a victim impact letter written in 2019 to the Honorable Judge James C. Hankinson. I met Danny in the summer of 2005, the year I graduated law school and moved to D.C. to begin a clerkship. It was a strange time for me. No longer a student, but not really anything else. Buffeted by aughts, the gnawing need to repay student loans, TikTok, the need to make friends, to find someone, figure out whether this whole law school run had been a waste. A friend from law school, knowing I knew no one in D.C., told me I should meet his friend Wendy. I did and enjoyed her company. But it was Danny who took the lead, seemed determined to get me fitted with a life. He hosted me at their apartment for Shabbat dinner and fed me, introduced me to all sorts of prominent professional contacts and to eligible Jewish men. I was a stranger in a strange land and Danny knew just how such a person should be treated. By opening his home, making them feel cared for, he seemed to believe himself endowed with an outsized set of talents and capacities, and he was. His charge then was to find those in need, share with them what he had. He was the most presumptuously loving person I have ever known. He never asked you if you wanted or needed his advice, interest, or love. He just assumed you did. In my case, he wasn't wrong. In the years that I knew him, there seemed to be almost nothing beyond his power. Right out of a law firm, when blogs were just getting going, he started one of the most prominent and popular for law professors. Having only just received an academic post himself, he was a consummate and natural host. A few months after I met Danny, he ran into Zach, an undergrad he mentored while in law school, at a wedding. He harassed Zach by phone to get on a plane from Los Angeles and fly to D.C. to take me on a date. The plan was audacious and Danny relentless. It was also just the push Zach and I needed. More than 13 years and 3 kids later, I marvel still at the power and reach of Danny's endless capacity for love. But it was a blind spot too, as all strengths are. I have no doubt that what propelled him into marriage so quickly with Wendy was his irrefutable belief that he could fix any problem and answer any challenge, that she didn't seem to share some of his values with regard to religious observance, or even that she seemed reluctant to marry him. She broke off their engagement at one point when we were all still in D.C., seemed to him mere kinks to work out, not impediments to a happy married life. On October 9th, 2012, soon after Wendy took the kids and left him, he sent his vast number of close friends an email. He told us that he had come home from a work trip to a ransacked house, that Wendy had left and taken the kids, but that he was determined to win her back. He concluded with this: "You all know this, I'm sure, but remember, everything wonderful is also and already fragile. Love mightily while you can." It was just like Danny, really, at the bottom of life's oubliette, fretting over what he might impart to the rest of us. I called him soon after receiving the emails and opened with, "Just in case it doesn't work out, I've got a girl for you." I thought it would make him laugh, and it did. The irony of my finding Danny someone after he found someone for me. It just so happened that a friend of mine's sister had recently divorced, but then he started to cry. "What's going to become of my boys?" he said out loud, more to himself or to God than to me. Their connection to Yeshidic Judaism is already so attenuated. What's going to become of my beautiful, magical boys? I assured him that he was still their father and they would be fine. A great dad is a powerful thing, even after divorce. He would surely remain a primary influence in their lives. What did I know? All deaths are a loss, but I can't help thinking Danny's measures far greater than most. He gave love so generously from such abundant store. He never quit tending his friends, offering his help. Our loss is profound, but his boys' loss is infinite. They would have received the lion's share of all that he was and whatever he had. They don't even know. Sincerely, Abigail Schreier. That's what I have for today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody.
What a stitch you're in. You plotted a murder 'cause you wanted to raise your daughter's kid. Tallahassee is just a stop on the way to civilization. Miami is where all the fancy people are at. The TV is a Power 5. You can't get away from that. Two-toe, tay-toe, hoo-ho, you know the guy you pay, and you can't get away from that. Oh, Donna, what a stitch you're in. You thought jail was just for the little people, but now you're so blankets with the locked up crew. You're a grandmother-in-law down, and your one-way ride to freedom you blew. family are exiled from the social circles you swam in. We all know you never made that banana bread or offered to babysit for Dan, but you'll soon be making license plates and thinking about